Okay, so last week, I know lots of you were here, but I'm also going to give our talk today as if you weren't, just in case, so that it's building on what we did last week, and anyone who would like to will obviously go and get the recording, but it's a standalone share as well that we're having this morning, which is called The Art of Assertiveness, and obviously today is part 2. And I was thinking last night that I think we could all relate as women that assertiveness, standing up for ourselves, is not necessarily something that's easy for women. I think in general, obviously there are exceptions to every rule, but in general, I think women do struggle more with this topic than men do. Men are more straight down the line, and generally just more forceful in personality than women in general are. And I was discussing with my husband, and we kind of came up with the fact that because women have such a power, and if we look through Jewish history, we see it demonstrated so clearly how at every juncture it was either the women in general, as when we went out of Israel, out of Egypt, during the Egel, the Golden Calf, many general standing up in a national way. And also individuals, as we spoke about particularly last week, the Imahos, the matriarchs, Esther, Malka, Rus, they all changed the course of history. And because we as women have such a power to make a difference, to stand up for what's right, to find our voice, like we spoke about, which Sarah instills in us, our inner voice, because we have such a power, that's why we struggle with it. And that's exactly why I'm sitting here now giving you this talk, because I feel so passionately that when women find their voice and don't let those insecure beliefs that can creep into every one of our minds, that don't let them take control and keep going back to find that way of standing up for what's right, then I really believe that we can change the world. So that's why we're sitting here right now. Some of you will recognize my houses. I have brought them here before, but I find it's a very useful way of demonstrating personal power in general and assertiveness in particular. So we have a house as an analogy for all of us being our own people, created in our own rights. Like the Medrash calls a person an olam katan, a small world. Each person exists in their own right and has their own individual blends of strengths and limitations and ways of seeing things, individual thoughts and feelings and experiences. Okay, now when we stay grounded in our house, when we stay grounded and focused on what's ours in any situation, in life in general, or particularly in relationships, then we will harness our power, this power that we keep talking about, this spiritual power that is instilled within us. We'll be able to catch it and to harness it. And when we start to get pulled into other people, and we start to go out of our own power, and we start to get pulled into other people's thoughts and feelings, other people's responsibilities, other people's choices, other people's strengths and limitations, that is when, not that we stop being powerful, but we step out of our power and we will feel it. We will feel, for example, if we start comparing ourselves to another person, we've all been through this, where we walk into someone's house and we see how pristine it is and we think back to what's going on at home, right? So it's just a very simple, practical example. And we're all smiling because we've all been there, right? So instead of, okay, this is literally talking about houses, but instead of being focused on where I'm holding right now and being confident and accepting of that, we are putting the focus on where someone else is. And in doing that, we walk out of our own house and we go and deposit ourselves in a place where we have no control, because we can't control other people and we don't need to. We need to go back to where am I holding now? Having respect for myself, accepting it, and then, okay, maybe there's a change that needs to be made. Maybe we need to get more cleaning help, or maybe whatever it is. But when we're able to be confident about where we are holding, that is where we're going to harness our creative, powerful, assertive energy to make healthy changes. Comparing to another person means I nicely deposit myself in their power, in their control, and there's not very much room for me to do anything at all from there. Okay, so this is the basis of our share. Now, what we spoke about last week, it was in specifically how the Imahos instilled within us the, welcome back, the traits of assertiveness, the inner power, the characteristics of assertiveness. Okay, so in a way, building it into our analogy, it's like the Imahos pack our houses for us. We've got cupboards in our houses with strong, real power where we can go when we need it, in whichever situation we need it, and unlock those, open those cupboards and take them out. Okay, so just running through it clearly, and obviously you can go back to last week's share for it in more detail, but Sarah gave us the dignity, the authority. We said that her name, Sarai, was changed to Sarah, which means princess of the world. And that's what we have inside us, that we are able to be assertive and to have that voice, like Hashem said, listen to her voice. We have a voice where we can stand up for what's right, and we have a right to do that because we are royal, because we are Hashem's children. That's what gives us a right. We didn't ever deserve the house. We don't need to earn the house. We don't ever need to check how we're doing or whether people are happy with us or not to decipher whether we can have a house or not. It's on Hashem's shoulders. He created us. He gives us a breath of life at every moment. And therefore, he has decided that we have a right to be loved, valued, respected, and to have our own way of doing things and to stand up for what's right for us and what's important for us. That is the grounding. Okay, so Sarah gives us this element of royalty, this element of having our own authoritative voice as Hashem's daughter. Then we spoke about Rivka, who showed us the balance of chesed. She was a paragon of chesed, but when it came to standing up for what was right, she was not a people pleaser. Even though Yitzchak was not happy that she gave the brachas, the blessings, over to Yitzchak instead of, Yaakov instead of Esau, she still did it. So it wasn't this people pleasing with boundless softness. It was chesed with boundaries, with a person behind it saying, is this right? Is this giving healthy? Do I need boundaries? We have boundaries around the house. Yeah, what was happening? We took the roof off. We'd still have walls around us, but we'd be open to the elements. So when we are able to give in a way that has boundaries around it, that means that we're able to retain our power. We're able to retain this energy that's coming to us. So it doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means saying yes when it's right and saying no in a sensitive, confident way when it isn't. That's what Rivka, who specifically is the one who teaches us chesed, she also teaches us boundaries around chesed. Then we learn from Rachel how even though she was in such a difficult situation, she didn't become a victim. She didn't become passive to what was going on with her sister, with Leah. She actively went forward with kindness and sensitivity. So we call that wholehearted living. That's what we called it last time. Do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry.
Go
what
on.
if you stand up for what's right, tempered around you, like down a cushion like around you? How do you overcome that and then still stick up for what's right in life?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sometimes it's useful to ask someone in authority and just run it past them, because sometimes we can feel passionately about something that's coming from a very emotional place, and everyone around us can see that and might be telling us that, and it's hard for us to accept. So I would just say, if we keep getting pushed down, it might be worth just checking with someone we trust, just sounding it out and seeing if we can separate the emotion from the actual point, and whether this is worth standing up for, even if it's risking upsetting a lot of people around us. So that's what I would say on that. I don't know if any of you noticed last time, but I missed out Leah last time, just purely because we didn't have enough time. And obviously I knew today that we would have time to talk about her. So Leah teaches us about gratitude. When she had her fourth child, the pasuk says, "Hapam oida es Hashem." This time I will thank Hashem. And it's the first time that we see the word oida, and obviously she called that baby Yehuda, which has the same root to thank. And as Jews, we called Yehudin, which means to thank. It also has the same root letter. So what's important to realize is that it's really integral to being a Jew is being able to be grateful. Now, as women, sometimes we have this belief that we're not allowed to receive. We're good with giving, we're comfortable with that. But when it comes to receiving, not quite as comfortable. It feels a bit wrong, like, am I not supposed to be the one who's giving and cooking and nurturing? And when it comes to us being vulnerable and actually having needs, which is part of having a house, part of the way Hashem created us, there is no person who is self-sufficient and doesn't need anyone else. It just doesn't exist. So if we can get confident and learn to graciously accept and to thank. How often do we thank someone and say, oh, it was nothing, right? Oh, it was nothing means like that they can't receive the thanks that we're giving them, right? I remember once there was some, I don't remember the details, there was some mix-up with the rota, and it ended up that I really needed a favor from someone to take my child home, and I could pick them up in a few minutes. And I remember driving to go and pick, it was years ago, about 10 years ago, driving to go and pick my child up, feeling so guilty and so bad that she picked up my kid for me. And then I suddenly had this insight, and I thought, if I go in all guilty, that is completely about me feeling insecure, completely me feeling insecure and incompetent and embarrassed that I forgot whatever the detail was. It doesn't give her anything. She's going to end up comforting me that I feel guilty. But if I go in grateful, then I feel good because I'm not feeling all silly about myself. And she feels good because she's done something nice to me and she can actually receive my gratitude. So and it was amazing to see, because by the time I got there, I had like a couple of minutes to like shift. And by the time I got there, I was just like, thank you so much. That was just such a help for me. And I felt better and she felt good. So that's become a bit of a motto in my mind. Do I want to be guilty or grateful? You know, being able to shift that and knowing that, yes, it's vulnerable to need people. It is. And it can sometimes feel stronger to be in that position of giving. But the truth is, we're all vacillating between one or the other. We're all sometimes in a position of giving and sometimes in a position of receiving. There's no one who escapes that. And when we're able to do it from our house, when we're able to receive from a grounded, confident place, we have a house, we have somewhere to put what people give us. We have a spiritual existence that relies on giving and taking, then that means that we no longer have to feel grateful and put ourselves on the street when we're in a position of receiving. We're allowed to feel confident in receiving and grateful and be able to graciously receive what people so kindly give us. So that is what Leah teaches us. Leah teaches us it's not weak to receive, she's grateful. And what's important to know is that gratitude does not mean that we can't also have pain. Okay, very often people come for a counseling session or just in general, they'll say to me that I should be so grateful. I feel bad that I'm struggling with this child, or I'm finding the finances so hard, or I'm struggling with this health issue. Like, should I not be grateful? There's this like guilt, again, that guilt, like I should be grateful. And what comes to my mind is that the phrase in Hebrew for gratitude is hakaras hatov, recognizing the good. That means, I call it my 3-seater couch. That means that we're sitting in the middle, and on one side we have all the things we're grateful for, and there's room for that. Hashem is showering us with constant goodness, that we can look out and recognize and be grateful for. And on the other side is pain and things that are hard and things that we are challenged by and things that we struggle with. And there's enough room for both. We don't have to only focus on the things that are hard and ignore the good. And we don't have to only focus on the things that we find it easy to see the good in and ignore the pain. There is enough room for both. And to me, that's the only way that we can really find healthy gratitude, is when we're able to be honest that part of being in our house means that we all have things that are hard and we can be confident about that. There's enough room in our house to be able to say, I find this difficult, I struggle in that relationship, I find this aspect of parenting difficult, whatever it might be, it's okay. It doesn't mean that we therefore have to go out of our house and then there's nothing to receive the goodness in either. We can stay home and there's enough room for what we find difficult and what we're grateful for. As you can hear, I'm quite passionate about that because I've heard with so many people, there's guilt of struggling. And there's no guilt about struggling. It's how Hashem created us. We're all going to find certain things hard, situations or just aspects of our personality are going to be more challenging than others. But that doesn't mean that we can't also welcome in this gracious, confident gratitude of being able to receive as well as acknowledging our struggles. Okay, so we've used the word assertiveness last week and this week, and I want to really zone in now on more specifically what we actually mean when we say assertiveness, because we have the principle that the chitzonius is ma'ora the pneumius, the externality wakes up the internality. So we've definitely established that we all have within us a very strong voice. We all have value. We all have this drive to be able to stand up for what's right outwards on the people we love and care about. So what happens when we lose it? Because we all do. We all go through times where we don't feel strong and we do feel shaky. So what's important is to know, which is what we're going to look at now, what are the characteristics that we can externally put on these characteristics to hopefully in time wake up what really is there. It's not a fake. It's not fake. It's just a way of waking. It's a bit of an alarm clock. That's waking up something that's there but maybe a bit sleepy, which is our own inner value and our own ability to stand up and have a house. Okay? So in your honor, I've been teaching assertiveness for a good few years now, but in your honor, I came up with an acronym of 5 things that can help us to become more assertive in practical. Okay, so the first is to be direct. I remember a few years ago, sorry, let me give you the acronym first, is drive. Okay, that's the 5 letters and we're gonna go to each one. So the first is deep. She was having issues with boundaries with one of her adult sons. He would just come, he would demand things, he would overstay his welcome with all due respect to him, and he would just bring his kids and ask her to look after them with no prior warning. I'm seeing some nods. So fine. So she wanted to become more assertive with her son. So I said, okay, we spoke about assertiveness. I said, fine, we're going to role play it. What are you going to say? So let's say her son was called Brian. So she said, he wasn't, obviously I'm choosing a randomly. So she said, okay, I'm going to say to him, Brian, I'm really sorry to have to say this to you. I mean, I know you've always been very good to me and you know, I really appreciate everything. I was like, cut. No. Right? If you want Brian to take you seriously and actually hear what you're saying, you need to be direct and specific. Okay? So you need to start off by saying, you know, Brian, darling, yeah, of course you can be warm, but tell him, what is it you want to say to him? So, okay, so it was, Brian, darling, I really enjoy your company. We're just going to have to put some boundaries down about when and how often and how it works with the children. Okay, good, right? So we've got something more direct and specific. A person needs to know, what is it that you are actually saying to them? And we as women, I love us all, but we are not so great. If we need something, ask for it. What is it? Yeah, yes. We flower it first, but if we can find that confidence, if we need something, to be able to ask for it, do you know what a gift it is to the people who care about us when we're able to say, do you know what? I would really appreciate 10 minutes quiet with a hot drink. And they can make you a hot drink and give you that 10 minutes quiet. That is such a gift to the people who care about us. If something's bothering us, to be able to articulate it rather than giving the cold face, say what it is that's bothering you. If in a nice, say again, you're right. We won't be discussing it if it was easy. We're not here discussing how to be on the beach, right? We don't need to discuss that. It's easy. It's chilled. We love it. This is hard. It's true. But like we said at the beginning, the fact that it's hard gives us an indicator of how valuable it can be. Because at the end of the day, if something is bothering us, and I'm not saying we should be wear our heart on our sleeve, yeah, of course, certain things are appropriate in certain times, certain things are appropriate to certain people and not others. That is true. And the way we say it, like we're going to talk about more soon, is very important, of course. But being able to show up as a living, breathing person, we are not superwomen, we are people. We are valuable, wonderful, powerful people. And that means that there are going to be certain things that do bother us. And when we're able to have that vulnerability and come up in a confident, direct way and say what we need, what's important for us, we are giving a gift to ourselves and to the people who care about us as well. Because it's like, you know, the men joke, like if a woman says they're fine, you are, right? They are anything but fine. Yeah. So okay, we're known for this, but we don't have to just keep on this natural path. We can find that strength. It is hard.
It's very, very.
It's hard.
A role to play, and they expect you to play that role. And if you venture from it, they think there's something not right, you know.
So maybe we think there's something not right, because if we can come in confident that our role is not to keep everyone happy. It is. Our role is not to keep everyone happy. Our role is to do the right thing. If we're keeping everyone happy, we are nicely depositing ourselves in everyone's house. Means there's one foot in this house, there's a hand in another, and another foot in another, which we can all relate to, right? Is a very cold feeling. When we're able to go back to our house and say, do you know what? My role in this world is not to make everyone happy. My role in this world is to do what Hashem wants. And that means for myself, and it means in a role as a mother, and it means in a role as a wife or a friend or any other roles that we have. That is a grounded place. That's a grounded place. That means that there aren't parts of us spread everywhere. It means that there's always a place to go back to where it's, what is my role here? What is my role here? And to be able to get the support and to challenge ourselves to be able to follow that through. Do you have a question?
Yes, I was going to say, I found that my kids are not stupid. They know if I'm upset, stressed, wound up, but they don't know what to do with it, which is very difficult and uncomfortable for them. When I am able to say to them, I've had a difficult day, I just need 10 minutes in my room with a drink, and then I'm with you. It might feel more like half an hour. But it's actually easier on them. It's fairer on them.
That's a really good
they get
example.
it now.
That's a really good example that when we're able to communicate when we're not feeling in a good space, it is also a very big gift. Because instead of them thinking, what have I done wrong? They actually realize it's not to do with them, it's to do with you, and you own it. You go and give yourself what you need, and they can be busy in their houses doing what they need to be doing as well. Absolutely. Okay.
We sometimes
Yes.
find that you do this just to keep everybody on one level and keep everybody happy, because if you start sort of sitting somebody down, if you get the opportunity to sit them down,
Yeah.
but to say that I can't do, it's going so deep, it's causing more friction. I would have thought.
It depends. You mean confronting verbally? Could be, or but sometimes it is important to confront specifically, and sometimes we could just, the next time they ask, we could just say, you know, I'd love to be able to, I just really can't this time. Okay, so what's important to know is, as we can see, this can be a process. Okay, I'm kind of opening up the potential, and I believe in the potential because I've seen many people work this process. But obviously, in terms of what we're going to do this morning, we are running through the general themes of it. But I do understand that it is very challenging, and I know that, which is why I started at the beginning by saying that we as women do have this belief that we have to be there for everyone, and that comes because yes, we can be there in a very powerful way, and we don't want to shy away from that. We just want to know that we are a person behind that. We are not machines. We are people who then go into the role of whatever roles we have. And that means that we are always going to go back to the fact that we have a right to exist as a person. And then we go into the different roles that we have. So yes, appreciating the challenge, but I'm not going to. Who wanted to say?
Yeah, sorry.
Go.
So if I'm direct to you and then I get upset, I'll become the fearless victim. I then have to get my inner self to become a rescuer to myself to say to you, no, I'm going to tell you this is A, this is black, and that is white. And then instead of becoming a victim that I didn't want to become, I could have stayed silent, and then I would have just.
It's a choice, 100% it is. You're absolutely right. It is a choice whether we challenge or not. And like we said last time, we have Sarah who challenges very verbally. Listen to her voice. She was very verbally confrontational. And then we have Rivka, who behind the scenes changed the brothers. She did it in a very clever, silent, covert way. So yes, absolutely. Sometimes there is overt challenge and sometimes there's covert challenge. That is true. But if we keep giving in a way that is not healthy, and we keep getting resentful, we are the ones who need to take responsibility for that, because we are the ones who have chosen not to make the change. So it's a choice. It is a choice, 100%. And yes, there is a price to pay because it takes confidence. It's true. But what we're saying here is we're raising the question, could it be that it's worth that challenge to be able to reclaim ourselves, which means that every time we give, we're really giving from a healthy place in a way that doesn't drain us. If you think in Hebrew, the words nosan, to give, is a palindrome. We read it forwards and backwards, because real giving does not drain us. We might be tired at the end of it. It doesn't drain us because we get a balance of energy back. When we're really giving from our house, not from people pleasing, or because we're scared that someone's going to be annoyed with us, or we're scared that we're going to feel guilty if we don't give. When we're really giving from a place of being in that role, we do not get drained. It comes back at us. Just an interesting story that really brought this point home was that when we were in Israel recently, one of our neighbors made a bar mitzvah, so they asked if they could store their dining room chairs in our house because they needed the room. So it's of course with pleasure. So they had our key and they used the key, brought the chairs in, lovely. And then I've asked my cleaner to come in the day before we came back, just to go through the house, that would come back to a nice clean house. And she didn't realize that our number lock was broken. So when she went out, she got the key from the neighbor. When she went out, she put the number lock on. So the neighbor came back to get their chairs back, and they couldn't open the door, couldn't open the door, trying the key, can't open it. So they called us in Israel and said, what's going on? In the end, they ended up having to get Chaverim out to open the door to get their chairs. And if they hadn't done that, we would have come back at 3 a.m. to our completely locked door. So that's what you have to think. So the point is that obviously it was a tiny thing. It's not a big giving, letting someone store their chairs in your house, but it was just such an example of when we give, we receive that. We might not see it straight away, but real giving does not drain us, does not make us resentful. It's something that is in balance. When we're giving from what I call giving from the street, not from a strong place in us, from a place of fear, where we're scared to not give, that's why we're giving, that does end up in resentment. So it's important, but it's just to be aware, not to go crazy with this and start over analyzing every tiny thing, but just to have a general awareness of where we're giving. And if it's this feeling of I have to, I can't say no, to be able to just take that step back and say, actually, I could say no, but I want to say yes, or actually I could say no, and you know what, I actually think it's the right thing here. So I'm not talking about when we can't be bothered. Okay, very important disclaimer here. Yeah, of course, sometimes giving from a real place is not easy, but it's not draining. That's the difference. When it feels like we're just on automatic and we're not even conscious of giving, and we don't take a pride and a value in giving, that's when it can end up in resentment. Okay, so we have our first, which is deep. Then the second is respect. As we know, today is like the Omer, which is the 33rd day of the Omer, and the Omer is characterized by the Talmids and the pupils of Rabbi Akiva dying because they didn't give respect one to the other. Obviously, we're talking about fabulously great people. So on their level, there was a certain element of respect for each person in their own right, which is exactly what we're bringing out here. So the second is to respect whatever it is that we're saying, however it is that we're challenging someone or sharing some kind of feeling, is to be able to respect that there is another side to this. It doesn't mean that I need to therefore give up on what I need or what I want or a boundary I need to put in place, but to respect that the other person has their own house, their own world, their own set of things going on. It's like when we were in the airport, there was a guy at the tax claims desk, and he was there for ages because he was trying to claim something back and he didn't have the right form, so he was calling this one to fax it over or whatever it was, scan it over, and he was, and my husband said, would you mind if I just go in front? Like, why are you going? He said, what? You know, you're going to miss your plane. And he's just so rude and disrespectful. And that's just an example of how he only had what he needed. But there was no, oh, that's assertive. That's not assertive. Assertive is when there's a balance of respect for what he needed, but also respect for the fact that he'd been there for half an hour and there was a queue behind him. So respect for also what other people need. So being able to respect another person's point of view when it's in terms of emotion, or practically another person's side of things or another person's needs, is obviously going to be really important when we're coming in assertively. So it's direct, respect, and then the I statement. Instead of saying you, right? You need to do this and you're always doing that, and I need you to, it's to be able to say it would be a big thing for me if, or I feel that, or I would really need XYZ. So to be able to come in with an I statement, owning what's going on in my house, what do I need in my house, taking responsibility for me rather than pointing a finger at you, what you're not doing or what you should be doing, or what I feel about you, right? That automatically is going to make the other person go out of their house into an insecure place, and then they're not very secure to be able to receive what we're saying. So to be able to focus on what I need, what's important to me, what I would appreciate, the way I see things is going to be important. Now, the next is the voice, or the way that we talk, our decibel level. Say again? I statements, being able to own, I feel. No problem. I'm glad you're paying attention. That's good. Keeping me on my toes. Okay, then we've got the V for voice. The way that we, if I was, you won't be taking anything that I'm saying seriously, because I'm coming in saying, I sort of think this, but I'm not really sure, right? If I was coming in here bellowing at you, you'd be like, whoa, you know, thanks, but this is a bit overbearing. So being able to find, even literally, like we're saying, we want to have external ways of waking up our inner confidence. So being able to come in at the right decibel level, is really important, to be able to come in and speak clearly and speak at that right level where there's respect for myself and there's also respect for another person. That's really what we want to come in as. And then E is for empathy. Like we said before, we're respecting another person, but also empathizing with them. So sometimes just a practical tip here, to be able, for example, with a teenager, I was talking to a teen who really struggles with authority and rules. And I was saying to them, like, if your parents understood how annoying you find their curfew or whatever rule they're putting in place, would it make a difference to you, like between you and me? So they said to me, I wouldn't let them know, but yes, right? Yes, it would. Like, if they understood my point of view and they still, because I said they'll still enforce the rule, but they'll understand you, would it make a difference? She said yes, because I would know that they understood me. And even though I might still be hard and annoying, and you know, whatever boundary they're putting in place that is coming in the way of what I want, that I would feel respected and understood, and it would definitely be easier for me privately inside myself to accept that rule. So to be able to say to someone, like, I understand, in this example, you know, I understand that it will be so exciting to just go out and not have a curfew. As a parent, I need to put one in place. That is assertive. It's empathizing with the other person, but putting into place what needs to happen. You know, I understand you really want your child to come and stay. I'm just not able to do that at the moment. I'm just not able to offer that at the moment. So you're able to sensitively respect and even verbalize where that you understand where the other person's coming from, but you end off with what you're ready for and what you're able to do right now. You know, that's a very important element of being able to be assertive. Okay, so linking it to lag ba'omer. Say again.
It's dry.
We are, let me, not at all. We've got direct, respect, I statement, voice, and empathy. Okay.
So,
yeah.
if I'm in the car, so it's okay, but if a car it's not my responsibility, it's their responsibility to get a smell. If someone was walking down the street and it's it's not my fault. If she walk close.
Right, 100%. So what are you asking?
So I'm saying it's not really always, you say that you've got fault, it's my fault, it's
not fault. No, it's not about fault, it's about responsibility. And sometimes we don't have a role. And that's fine. If we don't have a role, then we can confidently not have a role. It's quite nice not having a role, indeed. Then we can really let go. Okay. So linking it to Lag BaOmer, as we know, Lag BaOmer is a day of fire because there was a special element of fire of Torah that came down on this day. And it's interesting because there's a passage that says, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. The flame of Hashem, the candle of Hashem is the neshama of a person. So in a way, it really ties into what we're saying, that we have this flame inside us that is a part of Hashem. We actually are a part of Hashem. It's inside us, it's burning, it's creative, it's powerful. Okay, now if we think about fire, there's two elements that fire have that no other material has. Okay, one is that it doesn't run out. If I take a candle and light 10 other candles, my original candle is as strong as it ever was. Okay, if I take a glass of water and I pour it into 10 glasses, I'll have 10 very small glasses of water and very little left in the original one. So fire, we can see it represents a spiritual entity, which is, like we're saying, that when we give from a healthy place inside us, from a spiritual place, from a place of being connected to Hashem and wanting to harness the energy that's coming from Him, it doesn't run out. It's always going to be there. Our resilience is not quantifiable. It's always going to be there. This amazing inner strength that we have, and also to be able to shine that out onto other people. The other element of fire, which I find very interesting, is that it defies the rule of gravity. Again, taking the water example, I pour water, it's gonna land always at the lowest place. Whereas the candle, if I put it on its side, the flame will still go up, because that part of us is always driving us to connect upwards. It's always driving us to do better, to find meaning in situations. Obviously, on Life I'm this year, we're thinking, and our hearts go out to all the people who suffered such loss last year. And one of my friends actually lost her nephew in the tragedy that happened. And she was talking to me, she said that, the kindness that she saw was just incredible. Like the siblings of her nephew all received presents from toy shops and retreats. And obviously no one's thinking for a second that this takes it away. But being able to see that there's always something that we can find, there's always a way that we can find to shine upwards, to find meaning and to find giving in such painful situations. It really struck me, and also obviously the theme of light, that when it is so dark, those little things can shine such light. Sometimes, I would have thought, if I was a shopkeeper, I would have thought, seriously, a toy? Like, they've just lost their brother. Like, what is that? I would understand that way of thinking of like, will it really do anything? But yes, these small a smile, a note, a text, a phone call, any act of giving, especially when things are so dark, can be very, very meaningful. So we all have that light shining from within us, and when we're able to give outwards from that light, it's a very powerful thing. It says when Moshe was standing by the burning bush, Hashem says to him, the place where you're standing is holy. And Rabbi Israel Tarbes says that Hashem is always saying that to us. The place where you're standing is holy. Yes, that conversation, that decision, that act of giving when you can't be bothered, that ground that we are always standing on is holy. There's always that potential to be able to reach upwards, like the fire teaches us. So, just in conclusion, imagine a beggar lying on the street, and he's asleep, and he's got his little bags around him. And this millionaire, it's not a true story, as you'll see in a second, this millionaire with a very interesting sense of humor drives up in his BMW, takes out a wad, massively thick envelope, $1 million, and goes and tucks it into one of the bags of one of the beggar's bags. And the beggar, oblivious, carries on sleeping. Then after a certain amount of time, he stares awake, and he is hungry and he's thirsty, and he gathers up his bags and he starts trudging off towards the nearest bin, or maybe outside a restaurant where he hopes he's going to find a half-eaten burger, or a leftover carton from some kid. And this bystander who watched the whole thing happen goes over to the beggar and taps him on his shoulder, and he says, "Look in your bags." And the beggar's saying, "What's in my bags? A few rags, nothing in there." He said, "No, look." So the beggar opens his bags, discovers the wad, and realizes that actually, in effect, he's a millionaire. There's no trudging off to the nearest bin. He can go and with dignity and pride go and live his life. And that's really what this two-part series has been. It's really been that sometimes, without realizing it, our insecure thoughts start coming in, and we start to feel down and out about ourselves, and we start to think, who's going to listen to me, and what's the point of saying anything, and I can't receive, and all the other self-deprecating beliefs that we've traveled along these two sessions. And these two talks really are a tap on our shoulder, saying, look in your bags, you have a house, you have spiritual DNA from the Imahais, you have power, you have value, you have resilience, and it's enabling us to be able, instead of just trudging off and just carrying on with the same humdrum of lack of assertiveness, it's enabling us to be able to tune into that and channel that into our lives. So thank you very much for listening. And obviously the recording is available from last week for those of you who weren't there. Okay.